It always works. Hi everybody. So welcome. We're going to do a special feature tonight for savedroid ICO. Is there anybody in the room that actually invested into savedroid? And Yasin just arriving at the door. Is there anybody that actually invested in the pre-sale? Raise up your hands. Okay, so it's about 10 people. Okay. Yasin, welcome. Very good timing. So I think I need to at least talk a few seconds till you're up. You need to use this one. So we're gonna do a special feature tonight about savedroid, about their ICO. I have to say that I'm one of the advisors, so I'm very happy that I can actually place them here. We're going to live stream this tonight via Periscope. So maybe you can all say a big hello to the guys on Periscope. So just raise your hands.
Hello!
I think you can do better. Maybe some applause. Okay, so we're going to do 3 sessions tonight. So first of all, Yassin will tell you something about ICO in general, and then about his journey with savedroid. Then we will have Miguel from Define. You fine?
I'm fine.
Okay. He's going to tell us about the mechanics. So he's one of the programmers from the ICO mechanics inside. And then we will have some best practices for everybody who's maybe up to for their own ICO. We're located in the FinTech headquarters, so we have a few house rules here. So we have first name only place, and we try to be polite to each other. But I think you're really a great crowd, so I think we should do fine today. Okay, so Yassin, you're still fine, or you need some more time?
All good.
You're all good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I hand over to Yassin, and he'll explain what. You
Someone need to get this one.
Oh, yeah, okay. 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 So everybody who maybe has a special question for later, we'll make a Q&A after the 3 sessions. Just think about it, and if you have any kind of possibility to give us any paper or something, would be easier than to pick out any questions. So if you can give me some paper in between, would be good. Okay, so these are things. We're right now in 2018, and we're still looking for files on our system. Okay. So you can use this one, presentation. Okay. So, Yassin, the stage is yours.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Oliver. First, very sorry for being late to the own event. It's very bad. I need to apologize. Exactly. So today, I think you want to do 3 things, right? So to first of all explain a bit what is an ICO. So to get everybody a bit accustomed to the topic, and also explain a bit why we decided to go for one. And then secondly, tap a bit into the technical details. I'm definitely not the right one to do this. I'm the business guy, therefore I'm very grateful that we have Miguel here, whom you have just already seen. So he will explain you everything about smart contracts, and we'll also see a test transaction so that everybody can experience what it means to mint a token, to basically receive a token. So I hope that this makes it a bit more tangible for the non-techies among us. And then, last but not least, we'll just share with you our 2 cents of the early experience and early learnings of the pre-sale and the last weeks. What we have learned so far, what we'll do differently over the next weeks during the main sale, which starts this Friday. So, yeah, that's basically about it, the 3 parts. And let me just start with the key question, right? So why actually one would want to do an ICO, and what is an ICO? Here. Exactly. So this was basically this kind of face I got when I told my friends and my parents for the first time they're doing an ICO, and they go, what? What is that? Never heard of it, right? So I think this is still a quite new thing, at least in Germany, an initial coin offering. And typically what people do know much better, and it's somewhat comparable, so I try to explain a bit based on this one, is firstly a typical crowdfunding, which one may know from Kickstarter. This is way more established for a few years now, so I think people know that. A startup pitching for a product idea or looking for funding in order to build the product. And the idea behind is that the crowd will get the funds together, and with the help of the crowd, with the financing of the crowd, the product can be built, and the product will then be shipped to all the supporters. And so eventually what you get for the money you pay is a product which you have upfront purchased, right? And that's basically the concept here. There's also crowd investing in the sense I'm investing in a startup and I will receive some shares being pooled with other crowd investors. So the issue with these 2 things, if we just keep it very short in my perception is that in both worlds, you're basically not investing into something which at the end is liquid, right? So there's nothing that your money flows into which you at a later point in time may be able to sell and to recover your money. And I think this is one of the things which is a downside. On the other hand side, for sure, there's an IPO, but this one typically only works if you're a more mature company, if you are really able to have already a huge product on the market doing significant revenues, and then you're looking for outside investors, institutional investors, leveraging, you're actually selling equity shares, and the new investors will get a certain proportion of your company success in the future, which may be dividends and things like this. And I think the topic of an ICO is basically combining a bit the two worlds, right? So on the one hand side, we do have the crowd, and it's very barrier-free. I can participate with only a few euros. So in our case, it's starting from 10 euro, so I don't need to invest a fortune. And on the other hand side, what I get is a token, and this token will then be listed on a crypto exchange as well. So somehow it's tradable, right? So it's basically tradable as a share would be after an IPO, but still not granting the same right as in share, because our token, for example, is a utility token, and therefore it's more comparable to what we know from Kickstarter. So it's basically kind of a voucher which can be used for in-app purchases at the end once we launch our crypto savings. So it combines the two elements, having small investors brought together, investing in small proportions, so the startup can collect money. The startup, in our case, is selling a token, which is a utility token, and this token can then be used in-app to purchase our service, and also it can be used for being traded on a crypto exchange, right? And these are the two worlds which are combined here. And again, it does not constitute any equity similar rights, so there is no voting in the company, and there is also no stake in the company earnings. This is very important to understand up front, so it's not an equity-like investment. And this is also what we are telling very precisely and very clear, so for everybody to understand. And this is about it, in my view, what differentiates an ICO, a coin offering, non-technically speaking, rather the economic perspective, from a crowdfunding or crowd investing and a classical IPO. Now, recently, and you have probably already noticed, there was a hype not only around Bitcoin, but also around ICOs. So we have seen tremendous fundraisings. If you look to the really big ones, multi-million, actually three-digit million amounts of dollars which have been collected. Tezos, for example, Envion just recently, who collected 100 million in euros, or in US dollars, sorry. So the market, yes, one could say it's hot right now. Nevertheless, and I think this is the critical question which we are also always stressing here, as a buyer, a purchaser of token, you should always be very aware, and you should do a due diligence on your own in what kind of company am I actually investing, right? Because if you screen the market, there are many hundreds of ICOs out there right now. And if you look to some of them, it's more or less companies which may be domiciled in, say, the British Virgin Islands in a legal form of a limited, probably having some capital in the company of $1 US. And then these companies are now trying to raise 20 million US. So the key question is, how am I, as a token buyer, at the end protected against any scam? And right, and this is also what we are seeing in the market. There have been scam already quite a lot. And so, of course, before we decided, and this brings me to why are we doing this actually, before we have decided in order to go for this ICO, we had very intense discussions in our team. Right? We were asking ourselves, well, if you look to the media, if many negative reports, right, saying there's a lot of scam out there, it's an unregulated market, the regulators are actually warning, and why would you want to do this, right? And then finally we took the decision in order to do it because we said, look, we believe that we can differentiate from this kind of companies. We can differentiate for many reasons. The first one being we are, as an established company, already at the market for more than 2 years. We do have real customers. We do make real revenues. We do have real equity investors who have already funded the company. So we have raised until today 3.5 million euro. So we said, look, these are all assets which differentiate us from the other companies which are out there in the ICO market. And at the end we said, look, yes, At the moment, it's a bit a shady area, but still we want to go for this challenge because we do believe that if we can transport what we've already achieved, if we can be credible in this, we can create a level of trust which will help us to get the crowd activated in order to get a good funding for our company. And at the same time, and this was equally important than the money, we are a B2C player, right? So for us, marketing, users for the application is really key because one of the highest spend categories which we have, besides of personal expenses, is of course marketing expenses. And therefore, an ICO can help. If you are now building, and you will learn a bit later how big the community has already grown, if we are now spending our efforts on growing the crypto community, these will be the first users for the new crypto savings product, which we will launch mid of this year. So for us, it has two strong upsides, not only collecting capital, which will help us to realize this use case, but also getting and building the community in order to be able to load our platform with new users, which will then also spread the word inside the community. So it's actually extremely valuable for us, and that's what made us eventually decide to go for this ICO. Despite of all the negative press, despite of all the negative feedback which we initially got from our own friends and environment around savedroid, because people were still, as typical in Germany, very, very skeptical once it comes to technological innovation, right? So nevertheless, we decided to go for it. So now the question is, what is actually the purpose of this ICO? What do we want to build as the next product, and what have we done so far, right? So the good thing is we started off with this question here, right? We discovered that saving money is actually a tough thing to do, right? Everybody would now say it's actually not tough at all. Maybe that, as always in this kind of events in Frankfurt especially, our community is highly biased to highly educated people who mostly also have some financial background. So of course nobody will waste their money, right? But this is not true for the vast majority of the population, unfortunately. So our users as of today basically are very good described by this meme here. Unfortunately it's in German only. But what it's saying is essentially that people usually don't have enough income in order to save up on a regular basis. Typically at the month's end there is nothing left. So this issue we are tackling with savedroid today. And the second thing is that mostly also these people do not have the necessary self-discipline in order to save up regularly, right? It's just the next latte macchiato at Starbucks here, €5 gone. At the evening, have a second beer at the bar with the friends, another €4 gone. And so at the end, nothing is left over. And that brings you to the issue that once you want to purchase the more important things in life, like the next summer vacation with your girlfriend, like the new laptop which you urgently need, you just have not enough money in order to afford this. And exactly this is where savedroid comes in, right? And you could claim, people should have learned from their parents, right? And actually one could expect that everybody is behaving accordingly, but unfortunately people are not behaving rationally. And therefore, yes, it's a bit a shame. But on the other hand side, we said, couldn't we solve that by applying an algorithm which helps out? Because we said, okay, it's very difficult to change the user, even so that this may be the more aspirational goal, but what can be done is to implement an algorithm which will eventually help to overcome the inner weakness of the user, which keeps him spending the money just easily on the side. And that's what we did with savedroid. So we made saving extremely simple, right? We automated it, complete automation, based on an algorithm, and the money is then also being put aside on a separate savings account with our partner bank Wirecard. And this is very important, I will just tell you why. The first thing is, and this is very bad German translation, German is auch Kleinvieh macht Mist, so I hope that the picture helps a bit. So the idea behind is to say, look, even if you may only be able to save a few cents here and a few cents there, eventually it will add up at the month's end. And it's a bit the concept, like many of you may know from the past days, when you come at home and you have the spare change in your pockets and you just throw it into a basket, and after a while you have a big pile of coins, right? And this is what we are doing, digitally, fully automated. So our algorithm can either be programmed by our user, or you switch on the auto algorithm and this will do a cash flow forecast on your current on your checking account. And by analyzing your income and your spend, the algorithm is automatically detecting how much money can eventually be saved, and it's pulling aside some few cents here, some few euros there, and then we collect this money. So the good thing is automated, so you don't need to take care of your own savings. This is the advantage of this model. The second one is that we need to get the money out of sight of the user, right? And I guess the very few of you recognize the gorilla on the right-hand side, right? Because you only see what's right in your face. And the point with this one is, by just simply removing the funds from the checking account, which is easily accessible by just going to the next ATM, withdrawing the money, to a separate savings account, which is still in your name, and the funds are still available on a daily basis, but they need to be wire transferred. This will discipline you much more in spending the money easily. And that's exactly what we also see. So for users using savedroid on a regular basis, we see that their spending behavior improves over time, so they are wasting less money on unrequired purchases, and they're actually increasing their savings over month to month. And so our logic works by saving in small amounts and putting the money out of reach of the inner weakness of the user, and thereby eventually overcoming his lack of self-discipline, and thereby saving up for the bigger tickets he wants to purchase. So this is what savedroid helps the user with this value proposition, which everybody helps to afford more. We eventually generated far more than 200,000 downloads as of today. So now for us, we could say, oops, wrong. We could say, okay, that's it. Let's just now focus on this one. Problem solved. Well, not so fast. There will, of course, be the next challenge coming up now. And this is now why we actually doing the ICO, right? Because we recognized one thing. It's actually not a simple thing to invest in cryptocurrencies. And I discovered myself last year when I was trying to find out more about Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I thought, okay, I read now a few articles, so let's just go. Let's just buy some of this stuff. And then I said, okay, what do I need first? Well, first I need an exchange, a crypto exchange. Sounds easy, it's not so easy because there are many crypto exchanges out there, and then you have very lengthy and very painful processes in order to set up your account. For the guys who have already done this, you will know by now you have become an expert, so for you, you have mastered this challenge. But I know many of my friends who are now asking me, how can I buy cryptocurrencies, that they frustratedly give up after a while because it's just not working, and the exchanges are also experiencing very high traffic, so it's not so easy to even become a user of these exchanges. The next thing I was struggling with is selecting the wallet. I liked this one, but then I was told it would not work with Ethereum. Didn't get it in the first place. I'm not the tech guy, right? So then I digged a bit deeper. Okay, so hardware wallet, software wallet, desktop wallet, mobile wallet, whatsoever, and no clue what was the difference. So I tried to read a bit, but this is all very technical, so hard to understand. And eventually there was one thing called a private key. And this finally got me fully disordered, because I was not so much understanding, okay, so how to keep this really secret, how to back it up and stuff like this. And then again, it was a very cumbersome process. So these basically were the challenges which we discovered. And at the same time, we were asked by many of our users, isn't there some kind of asset I could be investing my savings with when I'm using savedroid? So since we are always looking to the future, not to the past, we decided not to go for any ETF savings plan whatsoever. The idea was to really do the next thing where we are believing in, which is cryptocurrencies. And therefore we said we need to actually stop that this market as of today is a very niche market because of all these hassles and adoption barriers which are out there. It's a really nerdy thing if you today are one of the first users of cryptocurrencies. A bit for me feels like the internet was 1998, right? So it was there, close to nobody was using it, and the user experience was completely crappy. And it was like the 14.4 modems, some of you may remember, and then the pages which, like the BTX, which was a bit like the video text, which some guys still know from television. So our takeaway was the user experience needs to be changed completely, right? So it needs to be made simple. It needs to be made in a way that the user without technological know-how will be able to adopt it and to experience what cryptocurrencies are all about. Because otherwise, it will remain a niche market, and that's what we picked up on. So our idea was, by really simplifying the user interface, making the process as simple as we can to provide access, easy access for users who are genuinely interested in the topic, but currently are withheld by the high technological barriers. So that's what our ICO is about: democratizing cryptocurrencies, giving access to people from the mass market in order to grow the crypto community. This is what we are working on. So the idea will be that the old outdated fiat, which we are currently doing the savings with, we want to replace that by crypto investments. And the idea is it will be very simple for our users. So for the guys who already know, maybe savedroid, you're using it. So you install the app, it's for free, you connect it with your current account, then you set up your savings goal and you decide how the bot shall save for you automatically. And at the end, it's not going to be much more complicated with crypto savings. You're just going to select which proportion of your savings you actually want to put into crypto. And all the complexity will be put in our backend and will be handled so that you don't need to take care of this one. And this is what we do understand as maximum simplification. So really taking the barriers aside from the user, handling them on our own, and doing all the integration in our back office and partnering with players like crypto exchanges in order to make that happen. So this is very important to keep in mind. Our game is really about being an access provider, about a platform, an aggregation platform to enable for users without technological know-how to things, investing into crypto without requiring technological know-how. And secondly, barrier-free in terms of amounts. So it will be able, using savedroid, to invest just a few cents into crypto, because as a platform we can be an aggregator, so we can aggregate all the savings of the many users on the platform, and that will significantly bring down transaction costs as well, and therefore basically helping in order to make this happen. This is our vision that we want to deliver. This is why we are doing the ICO. This is why we are asking the crowd for help in order to support this, because we believe that this is our small contribution to the whole crypto community that we can bring, helping to grow the community, and by growing the community, thereby also helping that we get a step closer towards mass market adoption of cryptocurrencies, and thereby really creating an alternative to the old-fashioned fiat currencies. This is the whole idea behind. This was already it for the first part. I think if you have some questions about what I've just told, just feel free to ask. I think we can do maybe a short Q&A at this point, because otherwise it would be hard to remember. And then we could jump into the tech part and Miguel's part. But happy to answer questions first.
You need to speak up loud, so we're going to try to repeat the question.
Thank you for the presentation. Would you mind elaborating on the tax treatment of the proceeds of the ICO? So I'm not referring to the VAT question.
Yeah.
Proceeds.
Yeah. Now, so on this one, we are collaborating with a professional tax company. We are working together with PricewaterhouseCoopers. At this point in time, we are basically structuring the solution. I cannot go too much into details on this one. But eventually, once the tokens are basically converted into revenues, then they are also treated like a usual revenue on your accounts. Right? So then basically, because you are purchasing a voucher of the company, which will then be converted into revenue, and then it's treatable as revenue.
Which makes it expensive.
As for every revenue, you need to pay the value-added tax.
There was a question.
Thanks for the presentation. Really like the idea. So so if I have a couple of trons or bitcoins or Ethereum, I'm going to send you my private key, and then where are you going to store them?
No, hopefully you don't send this in private key. Hopefully you don't. I think the key question, what you are trying to understand, right, is how does actually the process work if you already own some crypto in order to then get it to the savedroid ecosystem and have it stored on your savedroid wallet. Is that correct?
Maybe I misunderstood the entire concept. So first of all, I want to invest fiat and then crypto. So how do I invest crypto with you guys?
Okay. Sorry, get it. Okay, so the question is now, as a new user, you don't have any crypto yet, right? You want to get the crypto using savedroid.
Yes.
That's okay. Good. Now we get it. So basically, what we will do, and this will be differentiated about the different steps you can also see on our roadmap on our homepage, how we want to start is very simple. So basically, you put in fiat, and in Germany it's going to be by connecting your checking account. On international level, it will be by connecting your credit card. So the app will also be available internationally, then using the credit card, so the fiat goes in. We will then aggregate all the savings in fiat of our users, and we will collaborate with a few crypto exchanges where then the trades are going to happen, right? So basically, we will, and this is very important, we will aggregate all the small savings of the users into one big savings transaction, to one big trade, and then, of course, look for liquidity providers. So we need to have different crypto exchanges being connected to our platform. But this will help to basically make it barrier-free for one user, because if you would now want to just save, say, 50 cents into Bitcoin, you could actually not do, because the transaction cost would kill you at this point.
So I thought we're saying I'm putting my crypto into your savedroid. That's how I'm saving my crypto. That was it.
No, this can be done in the future, but at this point in time, since we are really addressing first-time crypto users, our key assumption is that most of the users using savedroid from the beginning will not already own crypto, right? So we want to be their entry point into the crypto world. That's why the initial idea is to really start from the direction converting fiat into crypto first. And then in the second level, basically, the system will get completely open, and you can, of course, also transfer crypto to the savedroid wallet and inter-exchange crypto from one coin to another, or also inter-exchanging from coins to tokens or to portfolios of coins and tokens.
But then if I'm doing that, who's keeping the private key? That's the question.
You are the user, right? The private key always needs to be with the user.
Investing with you guys.
Sorry?
If I'm investing with you guys and sending crypto to
No, you will, eventually you will have one, but we cannot know the private key, right? Because otherwise we could access your wallet.
Yeah.
So say I want to send you Ether to fund.
Yeah.
So say there's going to be a certain period of time where all the guys can send Ether, like maybe 1 week.
Yeah.
So today, say Ether is trading at 1,000 euro.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I send you today 1 Ether.
Yes.
1,000 euro. And so by the end of the week, Ether is going to be at 500.
Yes.
What am I? As I have sent you already on Monday my Ether, which was worth 1,000 at that time. Today it's trading at 500. So let's call it the currency risk,
Yes.
right? So the risk of euro
Yes.
against Ether.
Yes.
Who takes this risk?
So the question now. Yeah.
How is you're going to issue tokens, but at what
Exchange rate.
At what exchange?
Yeah, exactly. You're now talking about the ICO itself. So if you
That's the
would want
user company.
exactly. No, so the risk is basically borne by us as the company. So there is a daily, there's a daily actual exchange rate. So if you're sending the Ether today, you get the exchange rate of today. If you're sending it tomorrow, then you get the exchange rate of tomorrow.
But how
Right?
are you going to trade this? Say I send you 1,000 euro worth of Ether, and nobody else is going to participate, right?
Yeah.
And let's say
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Let's say okay, we all send you 1 million euro worth of Ether today, but the whole trade is going to settle in 1 week's time, and Ether is going to be trading at 10. So you have a problem, right? It's not
No, of course, we're not taking the risk in this kind of. We need to diversify later on, right? We need to diversify later on, but this is a separate question. For you, and this is only relevant for you as a purchaser right now, you get the daily rate when you do the purchase, right? This is as if you would go to an online store and you would pay with your credit card in a foreign currency. Say you would buy at Amazon US and you would need to pay in US dollars. You get the exchange rate of the day when you do the purchase, right? And if the exchange rate changes over time, then that's none of your business, right? So, and therefore, eventually, at the end, so your Ether is coming to our wallet. And of course, we implement a risk management on our wallet, because then it's our funds, right? And there we can diversify. No, not completely, no. Actually, there's a risk management behind. I can obviously not reveal, but for sure, it needs to be.
Are your users with your saving plans also investing in your savedroid coin? Or is it like the users are only investing in bitcoins and ethers and whatever, and the savedroid coin is only like the coin you give out for the ICO?
Exactly, the latter. Exactly right. So basically, users are only, this was the question, and yes, users are only investing if they're saving a savedroid in coins which are basically accepted as coins, established. We are, of course, not bringing the risky ones to our platform because it's first-time users, right? So there will be a screening process, and we will, of course, focus on the coins which have the best liquidity, which are more suitable for the users also.
So what is the concept to generate the value for the savedroid coin? I mean, you just explained it in the intro that you say at some point the investors who invest in the savedroid coin now are going to have a liquid market and then sell the savedroid coins later on. So how do you generate this value of your coins?
Yeah, exactly. The question was now, how actually has the token a value, and how is the value affected by different factors, right? Or what are the drivers of the value, better to speak. Okay, exactly. So basically how it works is that our token will be listed at several crypto exchanges. We are now already in negotiations. The first deal is also closed. We will announce before the start of our main sale already the first exchange listing, and there it's a free market. So basically the price on the exchange will be follow supply and demand, as always, right? We are not a market maker of our own token. This is important to understand. So unlike Naga, for example, they are market makers for their own token. We will not do this because that's a very different business. So that means that at the end, all the token buyers, as of today, will be the counterparties in this free market on the crypto exchange. Now, what will determine the value in the future? There are, of course, many factors, and you can also see in our white paper, but the two most important ones I can just briefly elaborate. The first one is, and this will drive the supply, once a token gets used in order to pay for one of our services, so we realize and we collect this token back as a revenue as a company, we will burn a certain proportion of this token, right? So basically our token design is a utility token with a deflation mechanism, meaning once we collect the token back, we will burn, say, 20%. This is just an example now. Let's say we will burn 20% of this token. Means that after this transaction, there are only 0.8 tokens left. And only this 0.8 token will then be recirculated in the market. But that eventually means that over time, the number of tokens available will decrease, right? And this will affect supply. Now, demand will be driven by the user growth on our platform. The more users we have, the higher the demand for the token will be in order to be able to pay for the services which we offer.
So which services will we pay in the token?
All of our crypto services. So if you want to use our crypto savings, so what I've just explained, there will be a monthly subscription fee, and there will be a transactional fee. And these fees are going to be paid. Exactly. It's an in-app means of payment. Exactly.
So if I want to become a future user of your services, I need to have your tokens.
Exactly. In the future, all of the users of savedroid will be required in order to get the tokens to pay for the crypto services consumed. Absolutely.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. Maybe one more question and then we
I'm just wondering if savedroid will provide a universal wallet.
Sorry?
If savedroid will provide a universal wallet to store all kind of altcoins, for example.
Yeah, I mean, this is always the question what the technology will bring in the future, right? So it's a bit difficult to say now. It will be always compatible with all the coins and tokens and technological standards which may come up in the future. So we will definitely do it step by step. At the beginning, it will be compatible with the biggest coins, right? The next step will be, once we increase that, to be also compatible with tokens like ERC20 and so on. Because our vision, but basically the service which we want to offer, is really starting with, say, the mainstream coins as basically the first crypto investment of a first-time user. Then basically increasing the number of coins which we'll offer on our platform, and then also starting offering portfolios. The portfolio idea is pretty much driven by the rationale saying, let's take out volatility by combining different coins and thereby reducing risks for users. And then thirdly, and this is going to be the third step, adding also individual tokens from ICOs, but there again, there will be a logic of screening these ICOs, of selecting tokens. We will not just make it open and accessible for everyone. So technology-wise speaking, yes, compatibility will increase with all different kinds of tokens, but there will still be a monitoring system that we, of course, as we are a platform and we want to support our users in finding also the best assets available, we will not accept every token which will be issued or may be issued in the future on our platform, because we see that this may also bring significant risk to the user.
Is the view that the ethos or Bitcoins is a kind of competition to savedroid because they provide similar services besides savings, for example?
Which one exactly?
Ethos.
Ethos. Okay.
Bitcoins.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely. I mean, there are a few companies at the moment who are trying to go in this direction. I think everybody differentiates a bit. Our concept really, and this I have not yet seen, is really having the entry point as a regular savings plan with really low amounts and a very simple user interface. I think what we already see, and there's more coming up in this direction, is basically companies which do enable bigger purchases, one-time purchase of cryptocurrencies, right? But this is really not what we want to do. Our platform is also never meant for trading, right? We don't want to be the next crypto trading platform. This at all is not in our spirit and nothing which we want to do. The whole idea here is to create longer-term savings plans with really small amounts of money in, and that's the eventual goal, diversified portfolios of crypto investments, right? Because here then we are really looking to having a diversification in terms of risk and then offering a better risk-return profile.
Okay.
So thank you for now. I think you'll be on the third track as well. I don't know if you have this. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So now we have Miguel. Maybe applause for And Jesse, there's one thing that you said about the community that is really important. I just checked your Telegram account, and there's still missing 120 members till they reach 30,000. So maybe we'll find them today. Maybe you maybe join, and it's still open. So right now we have Miguel here from Define. He will show you a bit about what he's done with smart contracts, in the way that he is simply doing a lot of mechanics in the background for the ICO of savedroid. So, have fun.
Hi, good evening. I'm Miguel. And like Yasin, I will start by apologizing. I don't look like somebody who programs smart contracts. But in any case, feel free to ask me some technical questions. I'll do my best. So, I work with Define. We're very interested in the ICO phenomenon. We think that it's very interesting that maybe a new asset class is being formed. And it was actually with this picture that we came to savedroid. And when you knew that they were trying to do an ICO, and it kind of tells you a bit about the complexity of what all the investment process actually means, and because we found the phenomenon so interesting, we were already prepared. And so today, I don't want to bother you with all the details there. What I wanted to show you is what is on the right-hand side, right? It's all about the smart contracts. So what comes up in the end? So the output of an ICO is the token. But in order to get the token, we need a lot of other smart contracts. You need the crowd sale contract that mediates the investments in the Ethereum network. You need vesting, for example, if you have some employees helping you so that they don't get the tokens all the way. And you also need a lot of helper contracts and also some things that, I don't know where the question came from before, that stores the FX rates, the exchange rates for Bitcoin and Ethereum, so that you know how much one token is actually worth in Ethereum and Bitcoin at a given date. So, what is then exactly a token? What is especially an ERC20 token? It's nothing special, right? It's a balance sheet, it's a program on the Ethereum network. It has a balance sheet saying that a given address holds that many tokens. What also makes it special is that you have a standardized form to exchange balance sheets. So if you want to give somebody tokens, you have one of the functions that you trigger a transaction, and if all things go well, then this other person will get the funds, will get the entry in the balance sheet. So, in order to make this a bit more tangible, we actually planned a live demo of exchanging a token. And the reason why we wanted to do this is that, well, live demos don't usually work, but we thought if they don't work, this is actually just showing the value of what savedroid is trying to do, making the user interface better. So bear with me. We will be live on the Rikubi network. I have deployed one smart contract there.
Is this parity multi-sig?
What?
Bad joke.
No, this will be my multi-sig. This will be my wallet. There will be no multi-sigs. We don't like multi-sig. So as you can see, it starts well. So, no, it's okay. Well, maybe. I'm fine. So this is our token contract as seen by one service. This is the Etherscan service. It's showing you that there is an interface to the smart contract. Right? There's a given supply of tokens. Somebody deployed the address. The contract that would be. And now, using modern state-of-the-art technology, a hardware wallet.
Nice.
We will try to move some tokens around.
You're going to get your P.
So we're in. So we're almost there. I'm going to send some tokens back.
I think this is not the official interface, yes.
Do I need to look like this?
No. That's just the point we're trying to make. have to confirm. Am I sure? Yeah, I am. Now the fun begins. So now you see the transaction that we sent. So I'm just trying to send some tokens, and it's currently pending. It's there. So let's see if we have the balances. Oh yeah, we do. Wow. No, we have. It's gone through. So as you can see, that was easy, right? Okay, I need a small break now. So, I did manage to get some tokens across, and this is, I'm very happy we did it. So now what I wanted to tell you a bit about was how we set it up, and more importantly, how did we make some decisions that are important for the whole setup. So, so in ICO, there's a lot of money going around, so you don't want there to be any errors. You don't want to be making these errors, and you don't want people to make errors for you. So, one of the decisions that we made was, how do I make the tokens? You know, this is called minting. So there are three possibilities, right? Or four. Money comes in, you get tokens. That's the one on the bottom. The other one is money comes in, all the money comes in, and then you get the tokens. That's the one above. The other one is money comes in, right? Money comes in Ether, in Bitcoin, and in Euro. And then somehow you have to match this to the amount of tokens. So that will mean that the last one, where you mint the tokens directly, that's not really feasible. And you have to go through very complex straight-through processing, where you wait to get the correct exchange rate, but you've done it automatically, and it goes through. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to make it so that we could make some mistakes. You don't want to have live processes when you don't need to have live processes. So what we ended up doing was, money comes in, and as soon as we have enough information about the exchange rates, about the bonus programs, about how much tokens each user is going to get, then we do a batch, and then we mint the tokens. Now this was a process, right? When we put the smart contracts out there, there's a lot of things that can also go wrong. You can have bugs in your code, you can have people exploiting your code, right? And so the question is, how to make sure that it has the right quality to deal with the amount of money that you're making it deal with. And there are three pillars here that we used and we reused. So the first one is, we try to always use standards. Open Zeppelin has a library with very good contracts. People have been looking at these contracts for years, and they're really good, stable, and there's an open community supporting this. Second, we test. We test, and we test, and we test. I'm not kidding. There's a lot of tests. I've done some, probably like 10 or 20 deploys on the Recreate network, just to make sure that the whole end-to-end process is running as it should. We do the unit testing, and we do the end-to-end automatically and with some users. So that we're sure that we're doing the right thing at the right time. For this, I can assure you the Truffle framework is really, really good. Thirdly, have somebody else look at your code. Somebody who really looks in depth at your code. So we had a security audit organized. This is really, really important. You get some really good feedback. And fourthly, get the community to look at your code. And this is, there was a bounty program that was organized. We got very valuable feedback from this. And please, the code is online on GitHub, and the bug bounty is still going on. So, bear with me. I'm going to say a couple of words about my employer, my colleagues. We're about 750 people, mathematicians, physicists, and a lot of them with a PhD, and we do blockchain for about 2 years, and we have hands-on experience. So if you want to talk about the next ICO, please come to us. That's it. Thank you.
I think we should raise some questions still. Is there anybody who has questions to Miguel? There's one question at least.
Why did you use ERC20 and not ERC721?
The support for the ERC20 is just broader, and it's a more established standard.
So that was quick. There's one more question.
Did you consider any other platforms than Ethereum? I mean, there are some others out there.
Again, we did, but it was a very broad community acceptance issues. Yeah.
So there's one more question here. Yeah, please.
And are you consulting now the savedroid ICO, or are you a member of savedroid? Because you presented defined slides.
Yeah. So I'm with Define.
And you are.
I am for savedroid, but with Define.
You're doing this in your free time, or do you
No, this is a business. Otherwise, I would be presenting.
Did you renegotiate? Define is consulting savedroid.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's mainly they're doing programming business. So yes.
Who was doing the security audit in this case? Are there any names to tell? Or?
Sebastian Hoffmann. The link to the audit is on the GitHub.com savedroid contract.
Anyway, do you want to share the slides, or is it?
Have to discuss this.
Okay. So.
You mentioned the three different possibilities to get the tokens, to pay via the cryptocurrencies and to pay euro. This is a question which might actually go more to Yassin. I'd be interested to know what's the split in your free tokens, say the 5 million into fiat and crypto.
Yeah, let me just take this one, exactly a small business topic. What I can say is that we had, unlike other ICOs, indeed a higher proportion of fiat currencies. So I think there, obviously, as transported also in the value proposition, attracting first-time users with this one, and being able to provide easy access has basically interested the people. Therefore, we had a higher share of fiat as one would have expected upfront. This is what I can disclose there.
A higher share meaning more than 50%?
I mean, let me answer the other way around. Typically, you have in most ICOs, and many of them don't accept fiat at all, and those who do accept, typically shares are somewhat what I've heard around 20%, and ours was significantly higher.
Maybe you can say the hard cap and soft cap.
Yeah, I mean, it has only, to some extent to do with it, exactly. So in the pre-sale, the volume was 500 million token, and basically in the main sale now it's 5.5 billion tokens. So it's still 11-fold in terms of volume, which is up for sale in the second phase. Yeah, anything I missed?
The soft cap and hard cap and how?
No, the soft cap was basically determined in euros. So this is also important to understand in context with the exchange rate question we had before. So our token is denominated in euro, not in a cryptocurrency, right? And therefore, soft cap and hard cap has been defined in this denomination. The soft cap was at a conversion rate of 500k euros. And the hard cap would be if you now disregard the pre-sale bonus of 30%, would be 60 million.
16.
No, for the main sale, the total honor.
16.
Any questions?
Question to Miguel. You're designing the smart contracts, you're testing it, you maybe are involved in the security audit. What happens if something happens despite all that checking and testing and so on? Maybe ICO proceeds disappear. You take part of the risk, or how this is managed between you and Yassin?
Extra protection.
That's a good question. I don't know. No, I mean I know, but probably depends on how much. It probably depends on whether you can make it through manual operation, where you can make it go away. This error, but the basis is very solid, and we did make sure that this would be very, very hard to. So we're not using software, we're using hardware wallets. There's an escrow, so it's very hard for anything to happen there.
But we of course know that a significant part of previous ICO proceeds disappeared, right? Something like more than 10%. So probably the advisors of those ICOs, that's the same.
You have to be more specific.
Yeah, I mean, security is a valuable thing. Okay, any more questions? There's one.
Question to Yassin. What made you choose Define as your provider?
Yeah, so we basically, of course, have looked around and have talked to different providers. I think at the end, for me personally, it's always, and this does not only hold true for Define, but for all the partners we are currently collaborating with. It's basically two things which need to be matched in our vendor selection. The first one being is that we do have a similar mindset about what is the outline of the project, what do we want to achieve, how do we want to collaborate. So basically being flexible, then also asking and questioning what did we discuss yesterday, did we have some new learnings, do we actually want to change. And I think this was an important part also, which we have not experienced in the past from every service provider, which is very different here, right? So it's always about really reflecting, and if you learn something, you need to change the solution you're working on. And this is very important for me personally, because I'm used to work in this kind of mode. And I actually dislike very much having discussions like, yeah, but 1 week ago we decided to do it like this, and now we stick to it because we discussed it like 1 week ago. That if in the meantime we learn something significant new, we should change, right? And this is a good thing to do, and it's not a bad thing. So I think this kind of mindset needs to be there. And here, from our discussions we had, we felt the strongest in Define. And secondly, also, what is of course important for us, since we are still a startup, is the pricing needs to be fair. right? And I think here was the big trade-off between the two, and this is always for us as a startup critical in finding our partners that both factors equally match.
Why did you opt for a utility token instead of a security one?
Yeah, this is a question which also now already is a bit in the session which we are then coming to as next one, where we want to share the learnings a bit. So let me keep it short here, but I will elaborate a bit more then. It's basically a key question of, firstly, how is regulation looking for the different types of tokens you can define? And also, what value can you offer for the purchases of your tokens, right? And I will talk about this one and how to select about your token design in the next session. So if the question should then be unanswered, please raise it again and we can go into more detail. But I don't want to already tell too much because then it's repetitive.
I think we should proceed. Question later. So big applause for Miguel. And Miguel is offering his spare time to program. It was really good idea. It was really good. So Define is a pretty big company. A couple of people here right now, and I think even some legal guys that are helping savedroid are here today as well. So maybe you can exchange as well later. So right now we have about best practices, I think. What do you want to tell us right now?
I would say early learnings.
Early learnings, so maybe early learnings, and then we come to best practices if we ask them. So, okay.
But I think and therefore for me it's important how we position that. Of course, now we have worked on the ICO topic for several months. We have now gone through the pre-sale and have learned a bit. Therefore, I really want to highlight that as early learnings, not so much as best practices. I think best practices requires more know-how, more track record. We're working on this one. So what is now early learnings after the main sale can become best practices? So what do we have learned? I think this is always an important question. It goes a bit back to what I just said about the mindset, how one wants to work and collaborate and to create new things, right? Really self-reflection and saying what have we done in a good way, what could have been done better. And we just want to share a bit because I have received over the last weeks many questions of guys approaching me saying, oh, we are also considering to do an ICO in the future. Can you be available for a discussion? Can you tell me a bit how you came to the decision, what you've experienced so far? And I just want to share a bit very openly and also self-critical what we have done and what was good, what was maybe worth improving now for the main sale. So the first one, we have seen this picture already, but again, it holds true for an ICO. You just don't simply do an ICO, and you don't do an ICO on the side, right? This is not like a hobby project where you say, I have an up and running business, but actually, you know what, I don't want to invest more than 10% of my time, and let's see how it works out. I can tell you how it works out, it will not work out. And for sure it will not, because I'm seeing today what kind of commitment you need in order to run this. So what I can tell you is our full team is on this. We're working 24/7 shifts. You will listen to the guy in a few minutes, Lucien, whom I'm very proud of. He's running our community management, so he's taking care that the question of the close to 30,000 members of the group are answered in all the different time zones across the world. So this is a real challenge. You should not underestimate, right? We at the beginning underestimated a bit, I must very openly say, right? We started off, we had at the beginning a few members in our Telegram group, then somewhat it exploded and we saw that this is a big workload. So you should be prepared for that. We were not as well prepared, and then this was really a point where the whole team was struggling because we were just working, continuing to work. People get really tired, and we needed to find some more team support in order to make this happen, right? This was really like a big wave just coming to us. But the war stories you will get from Lucien, this is one thing I will just want to bring across, saying if you are really considering doing an ICO, you should be aware up front that this is more than a full-time project. This actually requires 120% of your commitment. And also, once you decide to do that, because it's then a public thing, you need to be consistent, you need to follow through, and there's actually no point that you then can just change what your plans are, instead of you learning new things, of course, then always, that not because you feel like it's a good idea, or maybe I've told something which I didn't really mean. So I think here it's very important to get his mind cleared and say, look, I don't only want to do this to grab the fast dollar, which may be because, as I had at the very beginning, it's a hot topic, and many people out there in the market may now be attracted by just getting and pulling in the funds. I think that this is not the right motivation for doing an ICO, because then I think probability that you will fail is quite high. You need the buy-in, the mental buy-in, and the motivation in order to do that, because you're giving a commitment to the community who is funding you at this point in time. And I think this is very important to get right in your head and right in your mindset, because otherwise it will be a very dangerous decision also to take. So this is my first learning. Full commitment, we have underestimated a bit, our pain point was then that close to no sleep was there for a few weeks. That brings me to the second point, right? I stressed it already a bit at the beginning. There is a high risk in this market, right? And we recognize that because we have many users in our community raising very critical questions, and I do believe that this is extremely right in order to raise these questions, right? So basically, what kind of company are you? Where are you incorporated? Do you have real investors? Who is guaranteeing that what you're telling is actually true, right? And people are not asking this without a reason. They're asking it for good reason. They actually should ask this question. I would be highly concerned if people would not ask these questions, right? Because then people would just be stupid and putting their money somewhere in what they actually don't know. So to raise this question is exactly the right thing to do. Now, the point is that, of course, many people out there are many black sheep who are just telling you stuff, right, which you as an end user may not be able to assess accordingly, and you may not be able to make up your mind in a clear way, because if some company in some country, which you can actually not monitor, claims that they have a team of 50 people, also the startup just initiated a business, then you should start to get suspicious, right? I mean, here again, if a startup which has not yet any product, which just launched its service, is claiming to have a team of 50 people, my first question is, how are you actually paying those 50 people if you just started the business? I don't think that 50 people would just work for free because they believe in the idea so much. I mean, in very exceptional cases, this may be possible, but definitely not for so many hundreds of ICOs you see out there, right? So my point on this one is, be ready to take these critical questions. Be ready to be transparent in order to reveal information about your company, right? To share who is working with you, to share basically what you have done so far in the past, right? What your business is about, how many users you have gathered, and so on and so on and so on. So there is basically a lot of stuff. You are stepping into the public. You release a white paper which contains highly confidential information, which you really need to get your head around if you do want to disclose that, because most of the startups I know typically would not want to disclose this kind of information. So this is one thing which is required, because otherwise you cannot resolve the trust issue which is out there, right? If you are trying to start an ICO and at the same time believe this is possible without revealing sensitive information, having a black box around, then the ICO probably will not run that well, because the community will get very skeptical and the community will bash you. Right? And you should be very aware of this one. So we get these questions. I like these questions, and I think these questions shall continue, because it's a healthy sign that the community is really thinking about where to invest their money. Then, and this is a bit to what I said, when you start this ICO, you don't know so much what happened, and then, yes, it escalated quickly. It escalated quickly in the Telegram group. It escalated also quickly in the media. Just an example, really in the last 3 weeks since we did the pre-sale, all of these media reported about savedroid. It was not so much that we prepared that from longhand or whatsoever. It just happened by the fact that the pre-sale was sold out in 7 hours, which we did not expect. Our expectation was that basically the pre-sale would run for, and this is how we planned, 2 weeks, and was sold out in 7 hours. As I said, our community management team was not prepared in order to handle that. We were not prepared in order to handle also the demand of what would happen next, which was basically my phone was ringing 24/7. People calling my phone number. Unfortunately, I did that as a mistake. By the way, my phone number is easily to discover still in the internet. Yeah, I should probably not have told. That I'm very transparent. So basically, strange people were calling. I learned about your ICO. We need to talk. I have a business proposal to make and stuff like this. So basically, the wave just catches you. You're fully unprepared at this point in time. People even visiting our office. We had people who just were looking. Okay, where is your offices? And people just dropped by and they said, we just wanted to see your office. It's good to see you. Yeah, and it was like a bit being a site where tourists would come and visit. So also for this one, I would have never expected this to happen, but it happened. And therefore, I think this would have been good. Yeah, please.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Was it? Well, I believe it was a big hit on your infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Like servers and stuff.
Yes.
As well as people stopping by.
Yes.
But, how did you handle that? Like,
no, we had some server. Yeah.
And the server structure.
So yeah, exactly. So the question was, did we have some difficulties regarding the traffic with our servers and stuff? And yes, yeah, definitely. The servers and the infrastructure was not prepared. We did not think that we have so many users at the same time on our webpage. Because again, here, and just to give you a feeling, at the beginning of the week when the pre-sale started in our Telegram group, there were even below 100 users in the Telegram group. And then when the pre-sale started, it was like 4,000. At the end of the pre-sale, just intraday, from the noon until midnight, it was the 9,000 users. So it really exploded at this point in time. And so the servers were not prepared. We had some real technical issues. So luckily we were hosting with Amazon, so AWS could react quite fast, so this was good. But still, we did not expect it. Yeah, and then also, as I said, so the team was trying to work as long hours as they could. At one point in time, everybody needs some sleep. But since then, we are really working in 24/7 shifts. So we have divided the team into shifts in order to cope with it. Yeah.
And how did you cover the different time zones? So
yeah. The sir will tell you in a second how we did that. That was his magic. So then the next question is how to, and this goes in the direction where we had the question, how to design the token, how to design the token sale, right? And exactly, I was having this question when I first learned about ICOs. I mean, if it's an initial coin offering, you're asking people to pay in coins, this is a bit strange, somewhat. So, and this is where we started off. We said, look, if we want to simplify the whole thing, then for sure there needs to be fiat currency involved, because you need to get the people involved who are just wanting to enter the scene and who want to experience crypto. So therefore, this was the first design decision which we took, saying if our value proposition is making it easily accessible, then we can already deliver this first part of the value proposition by basically enabling people to participate in fiat currencies in our ICO. And that's what we did. A few other ICOs also did. But I think the first thing which we implemented, this is now only accessible for users in Germany and a few other European countries, is you can also participate using Sofortüberweisung. So I think this is as simple as it can get. So what you typically would know from online shopping again, right? And this is always basically the level of complexity which you want to achieve to making it as simple as you are used to it from other processes which you know very well from the internet. The second thing was then, and this goes here to the token design, we looked, of course, to different token design models. Equity token, so as a security, as you were mentioning. Here, the key question was what and how to structure it legally, right? And I mean, you can do, Envion has an equity token, and their decision was to basically have the whole transaction incorporated in Switzerland, right? Because the issue is that BaFin, unfortunately, still has no clear regulation for equity token. And I think this is a shortcoming of the regulation in Germany, and I would really wish that BaFin acts a bit more on time, that we can have a clear regulatory ground in order to structure a security token, right? Because I think this is a shortcoming, and what you see is that basically German companies who want to sell and issue an equity token are basically setting up subsidiaries in other jurisdictions and thereby solving this issue. This is one thing which we did not want to do, because we see that savedroid is a German company. We wanted to also run this ICO in accordance with German law. So this was for us important. And then we said, look, this is just at this point in time not possible. Or it would just take significantly too long time, right? One company who actually wanted to do something like this, if I remember correctly, was Bitwala from Berlin. They were firstly announcing their security token ICO in October, I think. Unfortunately, until now, I have not heard so much. So I think, and this was also, we talked to different lawyers, and we wanted to understand, of course, the legal side, very detailed. And we were talking to the lawyers, and we did understand that basically BaFin, of course, as there is no regulation in place, it's not so clear how they will react on the proposal of a security token. And therefore we said, look, for us it's not an issue to go somewhere abroad. We don't want to set up some strange subsidiary company which then does the ICO like other ICOs have done, and then have like a corporate structure where you have a subsidiary here, a subsidiary there, and then lending the money across and somehow circling it to Germany, because I believe this is not the best way in order to do a thing like this. And therefore we have a very simple structure. There is just savedroid AG, and savedroid AG is the issuer of the token, and everything is in Germany. There is no subsidiary company involved, nothing. And I think this is the most transparent way you can go. And that's why we decided in order for the utility token. And then for the utility token, we choose a special kind of utility token. We have one with deflation mechanism, I already explained briefly. So the idea is, and we did not invent this, right? This is actually goes back to a blog post from Vitalik Buterin, who has elaborated on the ways how to find a good value for a utility token, because one can question the value of a utility token in how it can be institutionalized in the token design. And here his idea was, and we just borrowed it from him, that we said, look, this deflation mechanism and actually destroying a certain proportion of the tokens over time can actually, to some extent, support the value of a token, right? This is only one factor that determines at the end of the time the value of the token, but it can be one, and this is what can be built in, right? And this is why we decided in order to go for this one. This is important to understand. So that's why we decided for this burning mechanism. So what I wanted to bring across, now it took a bit longer, but what I wanted to bring across at this point was basically, and therefore your question was very good, if you're considering about an ICO, you should really deep dive into the question how to design your token and what are the economics behind the token model. And you should not only discuss from an economic point of view, but you should also discuss from a legal point of view. You really need to understand the legal implications of what you're doing here, not only for you, but also for the people purchasing the token. This is very important, right? Because here, of course, there is risk involved, especially in an environment where there is no so clear regulation yet. And therefore, it's very important to cater for this. Yes.
Can you explain the difference between the security token and the equity token? Because
Yes.
you use both.
Yes, yes. So a security token basically is something which is more comparable to a classical stock, right? So it would basically give you at least, say, some revenue participation or some participation in future profits. It may or may not even grant you a voting right, right? This could also be implemented in the smart contract. So possibilities are there. But typically it's a thing which is giving you to somehow an exposure to the future economic success of the company. whereas a utility token is something which you can inter-exchange for a future service of a company. Right? And this is the difference.
And the equity token, you also used the term equity token, you wouldn't say it's connected with voting rights?
Not necessarily. I mean, equity token is basically a broader bucket, and actually voting rights are very seldom these days still.
But equity and security is a synonym.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
That's the point I didn't get.
Exactly. Exactly. No, this is just like the jargon which is there currently. Sorry for making not clear. Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Will the token burn functionality be embedded in the smart contract, or is it up to savedroid to decide how much?
The burning, you mean? Yeah. Exactly. So the question was, is the burning and the ratio of burning in the smart contract? No, it's not. So this is basically one thing which we obviously cannot reveal, right? So we do have flexibility in adjusting the burn ratio. So the whole system is built to last for many years. But this is one tool which we cannot reveal because otherwise there could be arbitrage against us, right? So this is basically one tool which we are having to react in extreme market conditions, right? And therefore we may increase or decrease this share of burning. And by the way, if you guys are interested more in the economics behind, we do offer an Excel model on our webpage which can be downloaded. And there you can actually simulate very easily what a different burn ratio would have an impact on the value of the token potentially. And therefore you can actually see the sensitivity of this one.
You have been talking about pooling transactions. Will this process be algorithm, or will it be done by human?
This is now, I think, what you're referring to regarding once the users save with savedroid and the savings shall be auto-converted into crypto. Yes, and so basically the algorithm will do two things. Firstly, the algorithm will determine how the portfolio of the coins your savings will be transferred will look like, so do the portfolio selection of the coins. And secondly, also, of course, basically matching transactions and aggregating transactions. Because here, obviously, there are many factors to take into account, right? The key question is which volume shall be converted from fiat into crypto, which volume shall be converted the other way around. What's the liquidity of the different exchanges you have connected? So you need to have an intelligent system in order to do load balancing and to do netting inside the system. Yes.
Thank you. I have a question regarding the implementation perhaps of the pricing of your services in the contract. If I assume that this token, like similar utility tokens or like similar cryptocurrencies, experiences a very high volatility, and perhaps in the beginning there's incredible demand, and you price your services relative to the token at X, and suddenly there's a big drop in the value of your token because perhaps interest ebbs off. Will you then have the liberty to just increase the prices of the services which you can pay with the utility token tenfold overnight in order to keep your profitability stable and everybody loses the utility?
No, so basically, I mean, so the question, if I aggregate it, right, is basically what impact does a price change of the token have on the price of the service we are offering? Is it this one? Yeah.
Probably,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So on this one here, what's important to understand, our pricing will be denominated in euro, and then you will always have an exchange rate from euro to the token, right? So meaning, if the token increases in value, then you need to pay less token. If the token decreases in value, then you need to pay more token. This is important because we cannot change the service pricing, right? Because otherwise, if the token price would increase, our services would be consistently more expensive. So then we would not get any users anymore because we cannot be competitive anymore on the market, right? So this cannot work on the higher side. On the lower side, again, it can also not work because then we would just lose a lot of money because we have to pay fees ourselves to our B2B partners, right? So therefore, this is the linkage. So at the end here, but we are a price taker in our application, right? As I said earlier, we are not a market maker of our own token. So the price of the token at the crypto exchange is driven by free supply and demand. So meaning if the parties on the market agree that there is higher demand than supply and the price goes up, we will actually adjust the exchange rate from euro to token in our app for pricing of our services as based to the volume-weighted average of the prices on the exchange.
So you do adjust your exchange rate?
No, just for our services, not for the token, which is a big difference.
But that's a crucial thing. If I have 100 tokens, and before you adjusted, I could buy X. Afterwards, I can't anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
If I'm just a normal person on the street, I want to buy 1 ETH, how much does it cost? And what kind of protection do you offer for token buyers as compared to one of the shady offshore companies that's like registered in the Virgin Islands? If I buy like 100 tokens of the Virgin Island ICO and I buy 100 tokens of yours, I mean, what's the difference in concrete protection?
Sure. First question is, what is the pricing? The exact pricing we cannot reveal at this point in time because this will also depend on basically user acceptance. What I can tell you is basically there will be 2 types of fees. The first one is being a monthly subscription fee, and the other one is being a percentage fee, right? And what's important to understand about the percentage fee, and you can see how the fees are also in our Excel model. This is currently one example calculations. The fee may differ because as for every other company, you know that once you are introducing a service to the market, you then need to see what is the user acceptance, how is the user growth, how does the competitive landscape evolve, and then you need to readjust your pricing, right? So basically what you can see in the example calculation is one possible pricing. It's an example calculation, therefore. So what is important now to understand in terms of the variable percentage of pricing here is that for us, we are an aggregator, as I said before, right? The highest cost you're currently facing if you want to trade crypto is the bid and ask spread if you go to an exchange. So the bid and ask spread can be significantly high. And since in our platform we aggregate all the transactions and we can net across the users, we can basically incorporate the bid-ask spread because we don't necessarily need to go through an exchange because you have peer-to-peer here, right? And basically by doing that, we have the possibility to basically internalize the bid and ask spread, which is then of course reflected into our fees, right? So, and I know what you're talking about, I've read your blog post of course. At the first glance, you were not understanding how can it be that the fees may be somewhat 5%, 7%. The very interesting part of that, and therefore it's actually a very reasonable fee, is that this is including the bid-ask spread, right? And if you look to an exchange of the bid and ask spread you're currently having, even between the exchanges, it's much more, right? And there,
it's okay. I just wanted to say.
No.
I did it. No, I just did an example on your Bitcoin talk thread of
Sure.
the current ask as a bid ask spreads. It's not like in the Excel thing.
It depends at which exchanges you're looking, right?
Yeah, I did all the examples. I like Coinbase included. I don't know which one. It's okay. Go on.
No, I mean everybody who's in crypto. I mean, the big industry today is arbitrage trading on crypto exchanges, right? I mean, many people are making a living out of that. So I don't think you can neglect that there are high bid-ask spreads. This is how people currently are earning a fortune by actually.
I did a snapshot example. That's all.
No. At one point in time, spreads are lower, and at other points in time, spreads are higher, right? And this changes. I mean, this is a very clear thing as in every exchange, right? So therefore, I think this is very important to understand how we are operating here, because we are internalizing this by aggregating the whole thing. I think there was one more point in the background.
Totally different question. I mean, why are you going for such a high hardcap? I mean, obviously, why are you going for such a high hardcap of like 60 million, if I understand correctly?
Yes.
Obviously, you won't need so much for like development of the platform, I suppose, right? So, what is the roadmap?
Yeah. No, so the question was what is the planned usage of the funds, right? And what do we want to do with this? Because as you said, the hard cap may seem to be a high amount of money. As I said earlier, for us, we are a B2C company. We want to expand internationally. So the key cost driver, and you also see we have published the split of the funds we are currently collecting. 50% will be required for marketing to grow the platform, right? And this is one thing which is very true if you look across all the fintechs currently out there. All the B2C fintechs are currently struggling with user acquisition costs. So marketing spend is one of the most crucial ones. That was also why we are going now into this kind of crowdfunding to get the first user base. But to grow beyond that and to make the platform truly international, one will have to invest significant amount of money into marketing. And therefore, exactly, this is planned for the user growth, which will be key priority number one. The platform, of course, also needs to be built up, but I'm fully with you, and this you also see in the pie chart diagram. The most amount of money is required in order for user growth, and the second biggest bucket is then for developing technology, expanding technology. Exactly. So, just to come to the next point, I already said, so this is just a quick reminder, talk to your lawyer. So don't try to do an ICO on your own. Look, the lawyers, I don't like them charging for every 5 minutes, right? And then nobody understands what they're talking about. And if you ask 3 guys, you will have 3 different opinions. So it's actually a very bad thing. No, here really do talk to your lawyer. It's very important. We did this from minute number 1, even before we decided to go for an ICO, because we did want to understand what are the legal implications, and this was really important for us. Therefore, I would really recommend to everyone, reach out to an expert, get yourself up to speed by understanding which regulations are there, which regulations aren't there, and how regulations may also change in the future, because of course there needs to be structure behind what you're doing. And marketing. Marketing is important. I don't want, because it's now already a bit late, and Lucia needs to tell you a bit more about the community management. Just in brief, what we experienced in marketing, some really strange stuff. So we started off, of course, we did social media campaigns advertising our ICO. We did Google AdWords, like all the performance campaigns one would do. We did display campaigns and so on and so on. So you, of course, need to tell the crowd that you are doing this ICO, what's your mission, and to get the people involved. That's what we did. Then at one point in time, this was once the pre-sale stopped, was sold out, we of course reduced the marketing budget, right? Because we said, okay, now we need to first understand how many backers do we have, how to prepare for the main sale, and so on and so on. And then I opened my web browser. I was just doing Google savedroid ICO, and I saw many Google ads. Talking to my CMO, Jan, I thought we stopped this, no? So yeah, we stopped everything. So people putting their own money in order to advertise for our ICO. I'm not kidding, right? So basically, we had many people who have invested private money in Google ad campaigns in order to have their referral link. We do have a bounty, right? But still, it needs to be a business case for the guys, because otherwise you're just burning money. But people were ready to put their own private money into launching a Google ad campaign, advertising our ICO, using their referral link, by basically saying, look, I believe that this is a promising business opportunity for me, right? And then we had even different guys. I've talked to several of them, because we could backtrack them from the referral link. So the guys were quite surprised when I rang them up and heck, I think you don't know. I think I don't know you, but you probably know me because you're advertising for our ICO. So I discussed a bit with the guys. It was very interesting to see what was their motivation and how they wanted to support the project, even with the willingness to put in their own funds. This was really a striking experience. I would have never believed that somebody would do. So I think this is, I must say, very, very positive feedback for us. This is one of the crazy marketing experiences, right? And the other one now for sure, I think already everybody of you has heard, Facebook now banned all the ICO campaigns, right? So we are now in the...
They tried to ban.
Yeah, they tried to. I mean, they're still working on it, and it's working more or less. But they will come to a point where they can just switch it off. And again, this was then, we were up and running, preparing for the main sale. Then just read the news immediately. Like 20 friends sent me on the messenger. Look. Facebook is doing something. What's the impact on you guys? And then you need to completely reshuffle all the plans you're having. And this was also very interesting. So I think the second point, which is interesting here, it's unlike you basically, as we're with our app doing, saying we have long-term marketing campaigns where you can say, this is now running for the next few months. We have some stability in there. We can just optimize from week to week. This is very fragile, right? Because external people actually coming in. We have also, by the way, other ICOs, of course, now putting their money in advertising for savedroid ICO keywords on Google. So I think the Bankera ICO is also bidding on savedroid ICO. And they have quite some money. So basically, you are in a much more fierce competition here. And secondly, what you also experience is that the environment in which you may be able to advertise is changing over time. Right? It's not stable. Who would have believed that Facebook would come to this conclusion from one day to another, and then basically cutting one option of your tree, right? And then you need to reshuffle and you need to reconsider how can you actually do your marketing. So therefore, the point I just wanted to share with you is let's not have a perspective where you say, look, I'm now preparing this ICO, it's going to take me 5 months, and now I'm going to have a static marketing plan where I can have different campaigns, and they will go on top of one another over the 5 months, and I plan it all up front, and then it will just go smoothly. It's not going to happen because there are many people coming in, regulation is changing, players are changing their behavior, and therefore you need to be very reactive. You need to have quite some resources in order to get this right.
Could you use a few more words on your marketing mix? So is it a big hit to you that Facebook might not work anymore? Or is it a minor player when you look at the entire marketing possibilities? And do you also have a tracking funnel to see which marketing budget results in how many sales? I mean, the sale is actually in a token budget.
Yeah. So the question was here, how important is Facebook in the total marketing mix? And secondly, can you track to the sale? Facebook is say one of the stronger channels. It's not the only one, definitely not, because the content, this topic is much more content driven also. So content only works to some extent on Facebook. So other channels like Google, like Twitter, like of course our blog we are having on Medium are also extremely relevant. So therefore you can digest that, but then you need to be flexible in order to switch the channels. So this is working. Also, one must not forget that, of course, the crypto community itself has their own platforms they're active on. So therefore, Facebook is only one of many channels. And the other one, yes, for sure. I mean, of course, like any other tracking, you can always track to the very end, but it doesn't help you that much, right? Because exactly, you have basically, unlike, say, you have an online shop where you have repeated buyers over a longer time period. It doesn't help you so much because here it's a bullet, right? You are preparing for a one-time sale, and then what you learn there is only partly reusable for the main sale, because also the audience changes, much of this changes, right? And therefore, I think what's really important is to have the capability to be flexible about the marketing channels, and also what works really good. But this is one thing which is also in high demand of the community, is really content-driven marketing, right? If you look to our Medium, we have a new blog post coming up, like on average every 2 to 3 days, where we are giving some insights into what we are working on. We have produced, also to increase transparency, a lot of YouTube videos where not only we are showing the founders team, we're also showing our employees. We are basically also having our supervisory board, since we are a stock corporation, who is a bit sharing their insights. So it's really a lot also about creating content for really sharing and discussing with the community, right? And it's not so much what does not work, I can tell you, is if you're just having stupid banner ads or fancy fancy Facebook pictures and then trying to get people over. You may be able, in order to get some traffic, but the conversion will not be good. And again, this brings me back to what we had before. I think this is for me another proof of concept that the people are really considering what they're doing here, right? There is no stupid traffic, but people are really taking into consideration what's on the offer and what should I do. Yeah.
When you look at the budget you had for the pre-sale for marketing, and you have some learnings now, how much did you ramp up this budget for the main sale? Can you give a percentage number there?
I mean, on how high the marketing budget is in total, we are not one disclosing this number, but I can tell you we're not spending a fortune, unlike other guys who have published numbers in the market. I think here the highest numbers I've heard were way beyond 3 million euros. Single companies have invested for the ICO. Not so sure if this is the right approach. Of course, you can basically try to get the user at every point in time, at every portal he is spamming with display ads and stuff like this. We have a much more targeted approach. We have a sum which is significantly smaller. As I said, we are leveraging content much more. And if you're doing this, I think you can work with a significantly smaller marketing budget as well.
Can you maybe tell us a little bit about the bounty program, how it's set up? And
Perfect. That's your turn. Bounty program. Lucian, you need to come. So, bounty program, community management. This is the next thing, but I'm not the right guy to tell you. This is the intro slide for you to tell about our 3 followers. Huh?
So we'll come to the least technical subject of the evening, but it's far from being the subject from which we learn the least. So it's ICO community management. And yeah, this is it. I mean, we're a B2C company. We've been in operation for several years, so one could assume like, okay, we got the community management side covered, right? Actually, quite not. It was really like a lot of learnings for us. And yes, it's community management, but it's really a really specific kind. First, the crowd for an ICO, they don't hang out in the social media channels that we're used to, like, okay, we got Facebook, Twitter, and so on covered. But here we started from scratch. We started a Telegram group on the 4th of January. So we had really no prior experience. The team was not experienced with Telegram. We had no record, no group of people to start with. So we created that group from scratch. And actually, I hoped that Yasin had spoken for a bit longer, so that number would have been true. We are not there yet. We are short by a bit less than 100 people, so you can join the group now. It's savedroid ICO group, or t.me/savedroid, and you would land directly in a group of nearly 30,000 people. And I can tell you the pace is really, really fast. We're trying to answer each and every one, but it's really a struggle. And this kind of community, I mean, online you always have, of course, a specific language that you have to get used to. So the whole language relates to cryptocurrencies. You also have, of course, the trolls that you have in any online community. So thankfully, some guys in our company have gaming community management experience, and that's extremely, I mean, that's probably the best training you can have for managing trolls. And most importantly, we have scammers. Scammers in the community is just like people making copycats of the admin's profile and then contacting other people by private messages and saying, hey, we are actually doing a private sale right now. If you want to enjoy like a 50% discount, just send your offer to that address or something. And that's happening for all ICOs. So, yeah.
How do you protect yourself from them?
So that's the thing. So a few things we can do. Of course, it's one in our group itself. Second, we never contact directly people in private message. We always ask them to contact us so that they know who they are contacting, because otherwise you just put the guy with the same picture, same name. It's not so obvious in Telegram who you're speaking to, and you can't see whether he's the admin of the group you're coming from. Whereas if you initiate the conversation directly with the admin, you know it's a genuine profile.
So you communicated openly. Don't contact us. We never.
Yeah. When people ask in the group, like I have an issue, please contact me in private message, or say no, please initiate the discussion. That's the way we do. So you'd never have an admin that contacts you directly if you are in the group. That's one protection. The other, like I said, is you can have a pin post in a Telegram group, so you display an alert here. Thankfully, we are not the first ICO, so the community is getting used to that, and we have no case, to our knowledge, no case to report that people would have sent money thinking they were investing in savedroid ICO. So far so good, but there's still another month to go, and we hope there's no horror story to report. But this is something we learned along the way, right? And we also learned that we needed more manpower. We needed, I think someone raised the subject of how do you cover different time zones. Well, it's by being in different time zones. There's actually no magic. Yasin was actually maybe another statement here. So at first it was the team, then we were organizing 24/7 shifts, and after a week or so, we were all, of course, too tired. And then when you have that number of people in the group, you can't focus on other tasks, right? So we had to get more manpower. So first we hired our friends who were living abroad, like in Asia or in the Caribbean, so we could cover a bit more time zones. And then we also handpicked the most active community members to join. So it's not just people we know, but we also learn to trust the community itself and engaging them in the moderation of the group. That's another part. So that's how now we can survive. The 24/7 community support was quite a challenge. And then the second community that you have to manage, it's like a sub-segment of the overall ICO community. They are the bounty hunters. So bounty hunters, basically, they help you spread the word for your ICO in exchange of some tokens. So basically, they complete some social media tasks, and they get rewarded with the tokens of your ICO. And this is a very, very common way to promote an ICO. That's a bit like organizing the organic traffic for your ICO. So on Facebook, for instance, yes, we do ads, or we could do ads in the past, but we also do like organic sharing of our posts through this bounty hunters army, and that's several hundred people. So as soon as we share a post on our page, immediately you have 50, 100 shares of our post. So that's also how we can get traction on Facebook still, even though promotion is not allowed anymore. So this community hangs out on, again, a different channel, Bitcoin Talk. That's where you find all the bounty hunters. So again, a new channel to set up. Again, a new channel where we get messages on a 24/7 basis. So we launched a bunch of bounty programs, bounty campaigns. It's actually very fancy. The design of this kind of bounty referral mechanisms are really, really complex. But people are used to the way we are designed, so they know like they have to share the post each day, report the links that are shared, and then they check the spreadsheet, the online spreadsheet. So everything is open, right? It's also part of what likes the community. It's like when all bounty hunters can check like the activity of other bounty hunters, because in the end, the amount of tokens they get is the proportion of the activity compared to the others. So it's like a competition between bounty hunters, and that's why we need to disclose everything, all the activity. So we have to maintain a lot of spreadsheets for all these different campaigns, different programs. So we are managing about 10 spreadsheets with thousands of rows. So it's really also intense, and for that also in the end we also involved people outside of the company, so the friends, the community members, because quickly it outgrown our own capacity of our team.
How many people in total?
How many people?
How many people of yours are working on like for community management?
One would say it's the whole team basically. Even the CTO answers question directly in the Telegram group.
Sorry, I don't know how many you are.
So between 15 and 20, depending how you count all the different contract types and stuff. So of course that's not enough because we have a lot of other things to work on, as you can guess. So yeah, a lot of spreadsheets involved here. But finally, all this work, the no sleep, the sleep deprivation and so on, I think that's been mentioned several times during this evening, and that's really the takeaway that we would like you to give, is that it's totally worth it. And that's also one of the very reasons to do the ICO, is that in the end, all these people that participated in the ICO, that are considering participating in the ICO, are future users, and more than that, actually, they are also future brand ambassadors, because they have some skin in the game, they have some tokens of our company. So hopefully that's even a better sign for our future international expansion, because we reach basically all markets, the whole world.
What's the entire bounty pool?
So that's 1.2% of all the tokens that will be sold. So that's why depends. Depends how we will sell in the end, of course. But that way, so it's again like a mechanism that is a bit complex for people to evaluate in the first place how much they will get. That's the way to engage everybody in the success of the ICO.
How many contributors did you have in the pre-sales, and how did you handle the KYC process, and how are you expecting or anticipating to handle the KYC in the main sale?
You got all that? Everything? This question about how many backers did we have in the pre-sale was more than 3,800. And how do we handle KYC? Standard process, so depending on the volume which you purchase, there are different thresholds. And then based on the threshold which you reach, you need to provide different documents. And KYC is still going on. This is typically a process which takes quite a while. It's batch processing again, right? Because we are a startup, and therefore it's still running. And it will be handled alike in the pre-sale and the main sale, because the KYC rules and the thresholds are the same, right?
Bitcoin is crashing really hard right now with 6,600. What's your opinion right now on cryptocurrency overall?
So I'm not basically doing private bets on single coins or stuff like this. I can't honestly.
Single coins entire market.
No, I mean for the whole market, I'm still very positive, right? But you are asking for Bitcoin in special, and I think
Bitcoin is all coins are related to Bitcoins. So if Bitcoin is crashing to zero, all other coins will be crashing to zero. So I mean,
this I would not expect. My personal opinion, and that's why I think it's very hard to comment on individual coins. I know that many people are fancying this and basically all the traders saying, okay, now you need to speculate in Stellar or you need to go and Ripple or whatsoever. My personal, and that's what was also the motivation behind our ICO, I do personally believe that cryptocurrencies are here to stay. The key question for me is which coins will be the coins of the future. And if you ask me, I personally can see a future where the coins which will eventually be the most successful may not even exist as of today. Right? Because again, if you think back, my comparison is always cryptocurrencies comparing to Internet of 1989. So basically, the companies which used to be huge then are not the companies which are huge now on the Internet, right? And therefore, I think what we're currently seeing are the first technologies. It's not yet that efficient as they require to be in order to scale up, at least not in terms of payments. That is the big issue. Maybe as a storage of value rather as compared to gold is what now the discussion is going on for Bitcoin and the like in the community. Nevertheless, really betting on individual coins in the short run, trying to trade and stuff, this is not at all what I'm into, and I'm also not part in speculating about this one. For me, it's really the long-term vision saying I believe in this trend. I think we have now seen so many factors which for me make it very, very realistic that it will become a real alternative to fiat currency. We have seen that the regulators are dealing now worldwide with this topic, but not dealing in a way that they actually want to prevent the technology, but they want to enable the technology. Just they're currently in the learning phase. And I'm sure that will see regulations that will enable the technology. We have seen all the big tech companies basically commenting on blockchain and adapting the technology. We have seen that basically even the CEO of JP Morgan Chase has publicly taken back his earlier words saying Bitcoin is just a fantasy thing, will not happen, right? And he regretted what he actually said a few months ago. We are now seeing that all the big retailers are proactively discussing opening up for cryptocurrencies. Of course, not adopting Bitcoin, but opening up for the topic, right? So I think we see from different directions in the market now a very strong push, and I think we are way beyond a point where one could say that this is the short-term thing, because I think it's already too big now, and the power of the technology is too strong. It just will take some years in order to get there, and this is rather my perspective. So if you ask me, the short-term up and down, I would not consider too much.
Sorry, I just think it's a little surprising because, I mean, your business model with your users is bringing all your users into savings, into cryptocurrencies.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what you're building your whole company up.
Exactly.
So you need to have answers to these questions you brought up on yourself. So which coins would you recommend to your customers to do your saving plans?
Exactly, which coins? And it's a plural. It's a plural. Exactly. Exactly. And therefore we are thinking in portfolios rather than in single coins. And that's exactly the reason, right? And then you need to rebalance and reshift, and the portfolios need to be dynamic. Right? And if you're currently looking just in coinmarketcap.com, you will see that there are more than 900 coins and more than 600 tokens, right? So, and the number is growing fast. So what you eventually need is basically an algorithm assessing this whole jungle and then selecting the right ones and kicking out the ones which will not make it to the future. And therefore, and that's why we believe in this megatrend. And if you believe in the megatrend, we think you should put your savings there. That does not mean at the same time that you should put all your savings in Bitcoin or Ethereum. Right? There's a very different thing.
I agree. Yeah. But the key issue for you as a company to become successful, this also means to become successful with your coin, is to have the right algorithm to choose the right coins at the end. So have you any idea?
This and diversification. This and diversification, right? Because if you diversify broad enough.
But then you can say we don't need an algorithm, then you just buy each and every crypto coin which is on the market.
No, it depends. No, I mean, you have always many drivers in terms of portfolio selection, right? I mean, the key question is which coins to take in and which coins to take out, and then also in which proportion to take in and to take out. And of course also how to rebalance, right? I mean, portfolio selection is not as simple as that, right? Therefore I'm saying I think there are many questions which need to be resolved. On the other hand side, a portfolio in terms of diversification should consist of more than 30 single investments, right, in order to have a good diversification. And therefore I'm saying that's why I'm not liking the discussion too much about single coins, because this is speculation. And honestly, my very true feeling about this one is that what is currently going on in the market with speculating and commenting on individual coins is actually adding to the negatively perceived image of cryptocurrency, because it's a trading, it's a speculation thing. And I think the markets would be doing quite well in order to stop this and get a bit more grown up in terms of really adding real-life use cases which will add new market participants in the market, add new use cases to that, and thereby by broadening the user base also reduce volatility. But this can only happen if the speculation is already also reduced in terms of the percentage of speculative transactions in all transactions on the crypto market. Therefore, I hope you're getting my point. For me, it's really about if cryptocurrencies can be adopted to the mass market, the user base will significantly change, right? Today, the user base of cryptocurrencies is predominantly driven by traders. My vision of the crypto community space is that it's predominantly driven by end users, not by traders, right? This is what I'm believing in. And so therefore...
I think this belief is the fundamental differentiation with other cryptocurrency, because they're all driven by profit. If you drive this message correctly, you are driving the people who care about demographic change, where the middle class is missing, and how do you add value to the long-term saving of these people who are looking for money to manage 2 jobs, 3 jobs. And if you do this well, so in other words, after your pre-sales, those guys who work for you, who lobby for you, how many of them actually believe in this vision?
Yeah. hopefully all of them backing now our ICO. And I think this is what we are really actively communicating, right? And I think because many of the people also are raising, okay, can I then use savedroid for trading? And our answer is always no, right? Because we don't even, honestly, people looking for trading platforms, there's so many trading platforms out there. Why would we now replicate the 28th trading platform? There is no value behind, if you ask me.
But your story is that you do the tradings for the people who want to do their savings. And if you say you manage the portfolio, you take coins in and out, you become the trader. And that is fair enough, because if you have the users giving you their savings, and you put them on the crypto market and they believe you are the expert to choose the right coins, and you get coins in and out, you become a trader, and no more than that. Because if you sell some coins and buy some other coins, you're doing nothing else at the rest of the market, because you want to do the best for the users. So there's no difference.
I mean, no, I think the fact is, how do you add value to the user, not just in terms of money, but multiple facets. I mean, human being is not just money. There are many ways where you can add value, and then at the same time help them to drive their revenues. And that is, I think, is the main differentiation, has to be marketingly focused.
Yeah, exactly. And I think here's probably the point, right? That at the end, if you're constructing a portfolio, there need to be some trades, it's obvious. But this does not mean that you are doing high-frequency trading or intraday trading, right? At the end, to construct a portfolio, the delta needs to go to the market, and this is very true. I think this is the common point. Let me just finish, and then we can yeah?
This guy over there has a question for an hour or so.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Sorry.
One information, could you tell us in a few words a bit about the roadmap for 2018?
Yes. Okay. So question is, what is the roadmap for 2018, right? And the first thing, and this is the most important thing, is launching our beta mid this year, right? And the beta will be a very simplistic version of what we call crypto savings. So meaning you will have the savedroid app, you will be able to connect the savedroid app internationally to your credit card inside Germany, as you're already used to your checking account. And then you will be able to have your savings auto-converted in cryptocurrencies. And the next step, and this is in direction towards the end of the year, is really launching the first portfolios, and is then also enabling basically our application internationally not only to be available in English language, but then also customizing the languages in the bigger markets. Because we do see also with the ICO that English, yes, is the most international language, but we see that in many big markets there are still significant language barriers, right? And so for us, in order to have really the first product right, it's get the beta started mid of this year, have the first simple savings, add the first portfolios, and then get the language right. And then from there, we are taking it to the next level. I mean, firstly, in the beta, the token holders can participate as first, but then it will also be publicly available. We will start in Germany, but then very soon also launch it internationally. Exactly. And maybe just, we have time for questions just in a second. Let me just maybe finish my last point, because then I don't want to forget this point, because I think it adds up to many questions which have come around. People are now asking me, many people are asking me, friends, business contacts, pre-sale is over now, and then in 1 month from now, the ICO will be over, and then you have made it. If you ask me, the completely wrong perspective, then the journey just begins. I mean, what we are now doing is basically creating the work for the next month to come, right? So this is now just getting the required community, getting the right funds in order then to deliver on our promise, which we are giving right now in this crowd center. And I think therefore, our perspective, and this is again one thing which, if you are considering to do an ICO, the sale, yes, this may be over in one point in time, but then you have only built up your community, and then you need to deliver on your promise to the community. So that eventually means that our journey has just begun. We are just at the very starting point once the ICO is over. because then we have basically to deliver the app, we have to deliver the services which we promise to the community, to our backers, and therefore this is a very important part for us. So don't believe that just when this thing is over, we are taking vacation for 4 weeks and then that's it. It's not going to happen. So basically the real work only starts then we need to get up our sleeves and start building on the services which we want to give to our community members and to our users in the future. So therefore, I just want to say, we are of course very thankful for all the community support which we had. Is it positive feedback? Is it negative feedback? We are taking both into account. We are learning from both. And for me, personally, this has nothing to do with the savedroid ICO or other than that. But for me personally, if people are willing to spend their free time, to spend their late nights, to spend their weekends in order to comment, to give their feedback to your project, may it be positive or negative, this is already the highest form of appreciation one can give you. Dedicating the valuable time of his life in order to comment on your project. I mean, how can you honestly expect that from someone who is not having any financial profit out of it, right? And this is what I found so unbelievable, that many people are chipping in. They are reading through our white paper, which has 64 pages. They are providing them feedback. They're investing many hours of their life by just telling us, I like this one or I don't like that one. Could you change this one? I have an advice for you. Do this. And I think this is the truly amazing thing about the community here. And therefore, we really want to say thank you for this huge support. We hope that we can keep this up also throughout the main sale. And of course, what is very important, we see it as a very big value add, and this brings me again back to the journey, once we launch our service. Because inside the community, we will have highly motivated product testers who will tell us, look, the new feature you implemented is crappy, you need to change it. And you know what? This is very good feedback, because we can only learn if we have honest community feedback telling us what is not good, because only then you can improve. Just from feedback which is positive, you cannot learn anything. Right? This is just keep on as you're going. And this is very important, and therefore, thanks a lot for supporting us so far. Thanks a lot for investing your time. It's really appreciated, and now very open to answer further questions in the big round, or if some of you prefer also in one-on-ones, as you like it. Thanks so much.
Directly a question related to the community. I mean, you're up and running for like about 2 years, right?
The app is live now for more than 1 year.
For more than a year. You have only 200,000 users right now, right? So how big does the user base need to be for you to be actually a healthy company that can sustain itself without getting funding all the time?
Yeah.
So what is the scaling?
Yeah. No, the scaling is essentially a question, and that's what I answered earlier about the marketing spend you're having, right? Because, I mean, take this question, this is an economic question. It's not so much about unit economics. Unit economics are very positive in our case. The thing is the marketing spend and the speed you want to grow at. Right? And my favorite...
But could you live now, like at the size that you're now, could you live now from the 200,000 users? That's the question. So
yeah.
Would that be enough? I mean, I understand that you want to grow, and I understand that you want to invest in marketing.
Yeah. No, as any other startup in this early stage, we are not yet profitable for sure. I mean, this is very honest, but this is no news. We are stating also very openly. I think in the fintech space, it's very hard to find a startup in these early days which is at this level, right? Because at the end, if you're doing B2C, it needs to be invested into the user base, right? And therefore, I mean, to come back to your question, essentially, if you look to our business case, you can always work in two scenarios. The first one is having very fast user growth, but then you require significantly more money. Or at one point in time, you cut user growth, and basically you're just adjusting for the churn. And then basically you can achieve break even quite early. And here comes the point. This is always a discussion which you have. Also, we are having with our equity investors, because if you take the more conservative German perspective, then the highest achievement can be a break even. If you're taking the more US style approach, then user growth is the highest you can achieve. And therefore, if you look, and I'm not now comparing savedroid to a company like Amazon, but if you look to the business culture of Amazon, they were reinvesting all their revenues into growth, and look where they are today. And I think that this aggressive strategy, which one is used to rather from the United States, and we in Germany are very cautious, is also one factor that we see so few up and growing tech companies out of Germany. And I think this is really a shortcoming that you're having here.
Do you have any numbers to share which makes it break even, where you say, okay, like if we come from 200,000 to 2 million, 10 million users, we are safe for the first phase, and of course you want as many as possible, but is there like a first number which you want to target at the beginning?
No, sure. I mean, for the total company, this can live and could be profitable with like roughly 1 million users, right? So I think this is a makeable, doable number. But at the end, honestly, this is not how we are currently looking to the case. For us, it's really a question: how can the user growth be on the platform internationally?
Thank you.
Sure. Any more questions for the bigger round? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Did I understand correctly that in the future you can only pay for the service with the token,
yes,
and the number of tokens will be reduced over time?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Can you give us some insights to the main reason why you've changed the initial prime value?
Yeah. Question was here. Why did we change the price of the token just before our pre-sale? This was the case exactly. So it was actually less than 24 hours before the pre-sale. So we started off and we had many discussions. This is actually a very good example for community feedback and how we integrated it into our service. So we had lengthy discussions, so-called experts and real experts, and also community members, and basically everybody was favoring a different number, right? And eventually we decided in the first place, let's go with 1 token, €1. And then since the community was growing, in the community there was a discussion going on. Actually, we would rather see to have a lower sale price of 1 token. And this feedback was coming up and up and up again, right? And then we really, just in the night before the pre-sale, we sat together as the founder team and we were discussing, and then, look, now so many people have raised this point, shouldn't we actually listen to this community feedback and shouldn't we adjust? And then of course we had, it's going to be a tough thing to adjust all the IT systems in that short time frame. But then we said, okay, let's do the night shift and just do it, right? Because if so many people in the community are asking for it, it would actually be stupid not to listen to the people in the community, because at the end, it's a crowdfunding, right? So the crowd should have some influence on your product. And this is, by the way, also how we built the savedroid application from day one. So I've not told you this, but typically how we go about product development is pretty much UX testing driven. So we are, I don't know if the guys of you know, here is the usability test meetup, which is happening every 4 to 6 weeks. We are regular guests there. I would say we are one of the companies who visit that one most frequently, always testing new features and basically getting user feedback in. We are inviting users to our office and do one-on-one user feedbacks. We are asking users for online service to fill out in order to get feedback. So for us, once we founded savedroid, really getting user feedback is crucial in order to develop a good product. And this mindset is also what we want to incorporate now in the ICO, and basically this was the result, basically listening to the feedback of the crowd, because this was not a single feedback, but so many people were bringing it up, and then we came to a point where we said we should not neglect that and just implement it.
Keeping the teasers ICO from last year, if I'm purchasing tokens from your ICO, what would it be? A donation or an investment? It was a big disaster last year with teasers. It was considered a donation and not an investment.
It should not be a donation. That is also not an investment, since it's not a security token, right? It's not an equity token. So eventually, you're purchasing a voucher, right? It's a utility token, and therefore, it's again a different thing.
Just curious, because you talk about only B2C, any of the crypto company sometimes you brainstorming B2B, maybe you can share what possible scenario where you might go forward to B2B. That's maybe one possible scenario.
No, B2B may be interesting for us in the sense of, again, driving user growth, right? So for us, essentially, B2B partnerships are very interesting if we, by this B2B partnership, can add users to our platform, right? And there, I think, in the past we had some talks, we're currently also in talks. This is a very interesting topic in order to explore. The key question is always at the end, who is bringing which asset to the table? How can this be a deal which is a 3x win for the user and for the two companies? This is typically a challenging thing to find. Therefore, at the moment, we are opportunistically looking into this topic. It's not a key priority. You will also not find it on our roadmap. But of course, yes, it's one possibility in order to drive user growth.
I think we should shift this over to private talk later, so maybe any question kind of...
Where's the savedroid after party, and how many tokens do I get for attending?
This is a good question.
How about the bounty program?
Good question. So this is the last question, so please go ahead. We want to hear something.
No, so I mean, on this one, everybody who's here in Frankfurt, and many people have already done this, are happily invited to join our office, not only after the ICO, but also right now. As I said, we did have quite some visitors, and we are also happy to have a beer with all of our visitors. So there's not going to be, we are not the guys basically doing a big bang party. We have never done in the past. This is not my style to basically do expensive party things or stuff like this. Nevertheless, we are basically, when we do party, it's basically people coming to our office. We pull out the barbecue also in the winter. We have done just last week to have a team barbecue as a small thank you for the team doing all the night shifts. And then there are some beers, and that's basically the party. If you want to join the party, you're happily welcome to join. It's in our office. Basically there is no token compensation for joining, but you can have our nice company, and I hope that this is already worthwhile attending, and that this is what I can offer.
So Yasin will stay around if you have any further question, even for the community manager. I think that the community management is really you're really doing a fantastic job there. So so thanks a lot. There will be another meetup on the 7th of February about about ICOs. This will be there in Central Germany meetup. You will be there as well, I think. There will be Iconic Lab as well, and another company called Bird Chain. So if you're interested in this, you can sign up as well. And thank you very much for coming, and applause for savedroid.